I don't have one teacher. I study throughout the day, usually nonstop, because I believe the best way to learn, specifically technology, but overall anything, but most especially technology, is through projects. If you are just going through some course, you will not learn anything. So the most important thing is to always raise projects, what you would like to achieve, to automate something, to build some application, to use technology in a particular way. And then you learn by looking for answers and trying to build. I tried multiple times, let's say, to learn a particular tool. Let's say there's a tool called Bubble. It's one of the major no-code application builders that you can build any kind of application with visual programming, drag and drop. And I remember trying to learn by going through just some course and their tutorials, and I couldn't, because I didn't have a project that I would be excited about. And I ended up then never learning that tool. But then next, I remember I was working on one application, an artificial intelligence language tutor, and I was using one tool that I was already an expert in, but noticed some limitations that I cannot achieve particular things. And then I decided, okay, I need to shift to a completely new tool, which is, in this case, Flutter Flow. So it's similar to Bubble, also very powerful, but very complex. And that one I managed to learn in a week, not of course on a deep level, but to learn to such an extent that I managed to release that application to tens of thousands of users, that they can speak to an AI language tutor with their voice, and in any kind of role play and so on. Wow. I managed to do that in 1 week. Why? Because I had this project that I knew that I need to release to customers, right? So that's the most important thing.
It's very interesting what you're saying, because you're a bit on both sides. So you're studying a technology and you also teach it. So I know we're all not all the same type of learner, right? Some people learn, I don't know, visually or through different things. For me, totally, it's also the practical part. As soon as I start doing things, I integrate them, right? If I just look at something, watching someone do something, it doesn't enter me in that sense. So how do you use that experience, your personal experience, in your own teachings?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Overall, you mentioned different learning styles. So the beautiful thing specifically with artificial intelligence now is that you can convert any kind of material to a different form that's best for you. So if you are reading an article or a long research paper or something, you can take that research paper or article and get AI to generate a mind map for you if you're a visual learner, or to generate some infographics. It can do it now already. Or you can drop into Notebook LM and generate a podcast conversation. And even Notebook LM now allows you to jump into a podcast and as a listener and ask a question. And imagine
we
AI
should have
then
invited it.
And AI then, okay, Vykintas, that's an amazing question. So let's answer it, and then it carries on.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of artificial intelligence, that it allows you to convert kind of anything to anything you can imagine. You have, as I mentioned, a text, and you want to convert into quiz. Boom, very easy, right? So your creativity is the limit.
Yeah.
And you can adapt. Now, when I'm teaching someone, so overall, I believe one of the major principles for learning that really help you is to learn to teach. No matter if you're a teacher or not, to learn in such a way that, imagine if you would have to explain to your child, or even practically at the dinner table, to your partner, try to explain something that you learned today, to share, right? Because then when you think in terms of learning to teach, your mind will start thinking in different dimensions, how to interconnect everything, what kind of analogies you could provide, how you could explain in different words, right? And then it starts connecting in your mind. Now, for me specifically, because I'm such a logical person, I love using so-called computational thinking. So computational thinking, the first part of computational thinking is so-called decomposition. So you take any kind of topic or problem, challenge, and you try to decompose it into smaller parts, as I call variables.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if I try to learn how to prompt for image generation or image editing with artificial intelligence, I'm not a designer. I'm not an artist.
Yeah.
I don't know the vocabulary or something. So then I go to AI and ask, look, so use computational thinking and decompose image generation and image editing into major variables of categories, what you can do, let's say, while editing images. And also think in terms of the main vocabulary, words, main keywords that I should know to get a wide perspective of what's possible, right? And then AI helps me to drop into these variables, and then I see, okay, I can outpaint, so expand an image. And then even though different tools may use different expressions, but overall AI always will understand that, right? Or I can inpaint, so to inpaint some kind of another item within an image using artificial intelligence. And this way you can do it pretty fast.
So that's how you teach your students to put it into these parts.
Yes.
Basically how.
So also how I teach myself if I get into some new topic, and also how I then try to teach my students to try to understand the major building blocks like Lego bricks in terms of whatever topic you are taking, right? And also trying to build interactively even applications based on some kind of material that you are learning. So I'll provide an example. For instance, during the AI Mastery program, we have Dominic Ashburn, an amazing speaker who focuses on artificial intelligence for social media. He's a very creative person, and he had a class on image editing, and he provided a framework, what kind of variables to think in terms. So think in terms of object, think in terms of lighting, think in terms of something else, and then different potential values under each variables. And I was listening during the class, and I felt like, okay, like it's an amazing framework, but if I don't do anything now, it will remain in the slides, right? It will be somewhere on my folder. I will never open it and never come back. So right during a class, I opened Airtable, which is like Google Sheets, just on steroids, which is a bit more controlled. You can build your own whatever application you want with similar to Google Sheets. And I built an application with all these variables as columns that you can click on that column and select a value, let's say what lighting you want or what style you want, right? From a list of options. And then you select everything and boom, there is another cell which creates a prompt for you, combines everything together. And this way, I learned it much faster by very proactively trying to build a solution for myself, going kinesthetically instead of listening to something.
And you did that while you were still listening to him?
While I was still listening. And then in the end of the call, I shared that application with all the students.